When we talk about retirement, we typically think of the one event, the one moment in life when you stop trading your time for money and begin living completely on your own terms. But does it have to be such a binary black and white decision? Instead of flipping a switch from on to off, can we install a dimmer switch here? Today we're talking about hybrid retirements, what they look like, and some of my thoughts and experiences with taking the road less traveled. But first, let's graph this out. And believe me, this is a super scientific graph. We can see that there's a clear middle ground between the traditional ideas of a career and a retirement. Now, we all know what each end of the spectrum looks like, but what the heck is going on here in the middle? And how do we pull it off? A hybrid retirement is simply the middle ground between not working at all and working full time. And it'll probably have some of the following characteristics: fewer hours at work, lower pay of course, and more time doing what you love. And speaking of hybrid retirements, why am I here in the office instead of in the Bahamas?
But it's okay to make this stuff up as we go along because, as it turns out, that's an essential component of a hybrid retirement. And if you can figure it out, a hybrid retirement will keep the money coming in, all while you reduce the need to dip into your nest egg, to stay connected and engaged with your work and colleagues, to lower your overall stress, to spend more time exercising and staying healthy, and to spend more time with loved ones. It'll also get you prepared both financially and mentally for the time that you want to retire fully. But again, how do we pull this off? Depending on your skills, interests, and financial needs, there are a few options here. Number one is consulting or freelancing. In the past, I've seen plenty of clients shift from full-time work into consulting, and it can be quite lucrative depending on what you do. You can set your schedule and choose your clients and projects. Granted, this option is going to land you a little closer to the full-time work side of our super scientific spectrum here. A few downsides of consulting would be the need to form an LLC or S-Corp for your consulting business, the associated accounting and tax burdens, and the lack of health insurance if you're younger than 65. And these consulting jobs can be stressful from time to time. So if you're looking for less stress, let's talk about option number two, part-time work. There are some jobs out there that just don't require you to fire up the old brain. But there's something to be said for having a little money coming in and some place to be every day. It'll get you out of the house and help you meet new people. Of course, the earnings potential of this type of hybrid retirement is less than something like consulting. So it's a little further away from full-time work in our spectrum. But if you're already close to traditional retirement, it may be a perfect fit. In spite of the lower income expectations of this approach, things can still get out of hand. When Dad retired, he picked up a job at the local golf course. It was something for him to do, and he got some free golf privileges out of it. But as soon as the head pro figured out that he knew how to work a computer, they stuck him behind the check-in desk. Before you know it, he was working 40 hours a week and dealing with people who constantly didn't believe that there weren't earlier tee times available. No, you can't tee off in front of the first group. So boundaries are important no matter which hybrid retirement route that you take. Even part-time jobs can't ask you to do more than you want, which leads us to our next option, seasonal or gig work. Similar to part-time jobs, seasonal or gig jobs can bring in a little bit of income, but with even more flexibility. You might still have to be somewhere at 8 a.m., but for a seasonal gig, you know it's going to end soon. Tax prep, holiday work, or summer hospitality jobs are great examples here. So on our spectrum, this would be closer to full retirement, and they're not entirely free from stress. I'm still traumatized from working Christmases at Toys R Us during college. Some dude threatened to whip my ass in the parking lot because we were out of Fisher-Price walkie-talkies on Christmas Eve. So, heads up on this one. And that brings us to our next option, the super elusive phased retirement at work. I don't see this one a lot, but some companies do offer a phased retirement program that allows their employees to reduce their hours at work and reduce their pay, but still keep their benefits. So this is an ideal option if you can pull it off. But if you work for a small company, this may not be on the menu for you. And of course, you have to think that anyone on a phased retirement program at work would be the first on the chopping block if there's a round of layoffs. Finally, if there's no formal program set up, it could be awkward to broach this subject with your boss, especially if you don't have a great relationship with them. So a formal phased retirement is an option, but probably not for many people. And it would probably fall somewhere in the middle ground on our spectrum here. So now let's turn to our next hybrid retirement option, turning a hobby into income. You could turn your passion for photography, woodworking, or crafting into a small business. Etsy really has opened the doors for all creative people out there to make some side money by doing something that they're passionate about. But this could be a dangerous one. Whoever said, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, needs to talk to a golf pro and ask them how many rounds that they've played this year. No, it only may take one Bridezilla photo shoot to crush your passion for photography. Sometimes it's better to just enjoy something as a hobby. But it could be a great way to offset the expense of that camera gear problem that you have, not that I would know anything about this. So this option would be the closest to retirement on our hybrid retirement spectrum, which leads us to our final option, becoming an entrepreneur. If full retirement age is still some distance off on the horizon, quitting work to sell needlepoint on Etsy may not get the job done. In that case, there's one more option here, starting your own business. But we have to add a massive caveat to this one. If you want to work less, this may not be for you. There's completely something to the joke that an entrepreneur is someone who's willing to work 60 hours a week in order to avoid working 40 hours a week. So this option lands way out on our spectrum, at least at first. It is completely possible to build a business that eventually gives you the flexibility to have a hybrid retirement of sorts, assuming that you build systems and hire the right people to take care of much of the day-to-day operations. But if you're lucky enough to reach that point, this option may eventually fall back into a place that's reasonable on our spectrum. It's just getting there that's part of the challenge. And that's a perfect segue to discuss the disadvantages of a hybrid retirement. Believe it or not, there are a few drawbacks to trying to have your cake and eat it too. It's like my old trainer said, you can have anything, but you can't have everything. So here are a few drawbacks to a hybrid retirement in no particular order. Number one, setting boundaries. Especially if you're a part-time worker, the odds are pretty high that at some point, they're gonna ask you to come in for a few extra hours until they get through busy season. So now you have a scope problem, and it can be hard to say no without being able to walk away. Drawback number two is health insurance. If you're under 65, health insurance premiums are so high, they'll give you health problems. Number three, taxes and bookkeeping. If you're doing any consulting gig or side hustle work, you're gonna have to manage your own taxes and accounting. If you're not into that, then you need to hire someone to help you. Drawback number four is availability. Finding any of these jobs may not be easy. It may take time and you may have stretches where you're not working. So a hybrid retirement isn't without some risk. Look, there's nothing wrong with a traditional approach to retirement. For a lot of people, it is the best fit, and because it's the most common approach, it's way easier than trying to order something off the menu. So no matter which hybrid retirement path that you choose, there will necessarily be some level of effort and risk-taking on your part. And the further away from traditional retirement age that you are, the longer it may take to set this up. So someone in their early 60s looking for a part-time job or gig work may have a much easier go of it than someone who's starting their own business at age 43. As you can probably tell, I've chosen the entrepreneur route. I love what I do, I love helping my clients, and I love making these videos, except for I'm outside today filming in public and I'm a little nervous about it. And one of the great things about it is I can deduct all my camera gear expenses because evidently I have a problem with that too. And there's no reason I can't continue doing this well into my 60s and beyond. And today my office happens to be in the Bahamas. That being said, I'm in the Bahamas and I'm working. And that's the most important thing to remember about a hybrid retirement. It's also hybrid work. So there are no free lunches here. It's all about making choices. So let me know what you think in the comments. But you know what? Life is short, so why not try to have it all if you can? And speaking of beautiful locations, check out this video where I share the top 5 retirement travel destinations that I see people take when they finally retire. I'll see you there.